Good morning. It is May 21st, 2018, and this past Friday, um, there was yet another school shooting, and the script is always the same. The timing is always at the most opportune to essentially eat up the news cycle and distract. And of course, the distraction is from uh, the sedition against our president as more facts come out. Um, this morning, as I was listening to David Knight, the Real News, he was talking about these these shootings and what always happens. The script and how our schools basically teach our children to be this way, and then of course they create the shooter, and then you have the government come in and they are the solutions, ones who create the schools, who set up the schools. I've written some talking points, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit. State-run schools, which is essentially what they are, Common Core. It's federal program, illegal federal program, which is rammed down the states' throats via funds. Basically, the federal government says, we will fund you and we will send you money if you enforce our Common Core standards as they are now. There have been others through the years, but and then because it's unconstitutional for the federal government to interfere in public schooling, so they entice the state with federal money, and then the state enforces through their own mandate what they want the local schools, the public schools, to teach. Essentially, it's a government sanctioned program. So they teach our children through their Common Core. Up is down, right is wrong, and whatever feels good is good. If anyone ever has different views than we do, they are racists, homophobes, Islamophobes, misogynists, whatever. They overwhelmingly cannot read or write, but they can point out a racist a mile away. In public schools today, your children are numbers. They are expected from the earliest ages to be able to sit still, listen, and stay on task. Things that just 3 or 4 decades ago were taught in K through 4. They realized all kids were different in how they behaved and how quickly they learned. That when I was in school, I graduated in 1982, and to me it seems like yesterday, but The goal of today's public schools are to create robots and social warriors, social justice warriors that will push society into one world government, where government is mommy and daddy. Our children and grandchildren have no idea what the U.S. Constitution is and why it was created because they are not taught it. They are taught that those who are patriots are the evil in the world. Patriots are not human and must be eradicated. They are taught a reverse view of American history, that the GOP is the historic party of slavery, and that despite the heroic work of Dems over the decades, that the GOP continues to work to keep minorities down. And any of us who are, my age, 50 years old and older, we know the difference. We know GOP was the side of freedom for everyone, and that the Dems were the ones that fought. They were the party of the KKK and all that. But that's all reversed now. All whites are inherently racist. There is not one human race, but society is defined according to race, creed, religion, sexual preference, and the plight of the oppressed is never ending. You are either a victim or you are an oppressor. Our schools, alongside mass media, Hollywood, D.C., create the above, which inevitably there will be those who are not mentally stable and will carry out shootings against their fellow classmates and school personnel. Those in power understand the mechanizations of how it all works. They own our schools. Teachers who teach our children to be cold, calculating, and unfeeling, dehumanizing those they teach are the enemy. We, patriots, are the enemy. Those who fight for freedom are the enemy. Those who fight for Big Daddy, Mommy government are the good guy. Globalization is good and nationalization is bad. Those in power, okay, we're there. They create the mentally ill student, then they offer the solution. The problem is not the system. The problem is not the individual who shoots up the school. The problem is the weapon and all those who support their legal and responsible use. It is not the legal gun owner, the responsible gun owner. They're the problem. Every time there is a school shooting, the mantra is the same. It takes mere seconds for the media and politicians to begin the assault, as they did this past Friday, as they did at Parkland. And don't you dare go against the children. The children and families that they single out that will harp about the agenda on people that they bring out. Everybody else you don't want to hear from. You won't hear from. You won't hear from the ones that and there are those at these schools that understand the Second Amendment. They understand what the problem is, but you never hear from them. As time moves forward, each shooting brings forth some sort of restrictions on legal, law-abiding gun owners and takes a notch from our Second Amendment rights, making it harder to defend ourselves against the ultimate tyrants, the ones our framers gave us the Second Amendment to defend against. our government who sits pretty on top of it and us all. So they create the situation, they create the dehumanization, and they create these shooters through their programming. And then when they do what they do, they become the solution. And the solution is to disarm everyone. And we know what happens when governments disarm their citizens. We've seen it throughout history. And despite Donald Trump as president, we're still playing the same game. The same old game.